This is the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm Jessica Mikowski, mindset coach and plant-powered athlete on a mission to guide all who are ready to great heights in sports performance and life. Through the 10,000-foot view, I share teachings of living awake with the sole purpose that we all realize our innate power to be the masters of our minds. Welcome to the Awake Athlete Podcast. I am loving this interview series this season, just bringing inspiration to life. And today I get to interview Kristin Mayer, founder of Betty Designs, coveted creator and boundary pusher, especially when it comes to fashion reimagined. Her designs are edgy and that's risky, but Kristin owns it. She owns what she puts out into the world, and that points to her owning her mindset. I love this woman. I can't say enough loving things about her, and I'm just so happy that she's here with me today for you. Kristin, hello.
Hello. Wow. That was quite an intro. Thank you. Holy smokes. That just made my week.
My love for you in 15 seconds. You're one of those people in my life where, we hopped on a call earlier this week and it was just the most fantastic call. We talked maybe 15, 20 minutes, and it was everything from like eyeliner to letting go of people that don't serve you anymore. And I just love that you can span the topics with me. So this is a perfect fit.
Totally. Yes, I agree. Totally fun.
All right. We're going to start off with just this idea of owning your mindset, because you have taken risks. So even just if we look at your fashion and the designs you've put out and some of the slogans you've used, they've been risky, they've been edgy. And, typically we're not just that way in one part of our life. It spans, we don't selectively learn as humans. It spans and transcends every avenue of our existence. And to really live like that, you have to own the mindset and everything that goes along with it. And so how has that been activated in your life and your experience?
So it's evolved. That's the number one thing. I think, when I first started thinking about it was probably 14 years ago when I went through my divorce and I started Betty Designs. And I was going through the go, thinking that I had it all together and I was just trying to achieve in triathlon and starting my business and being a mom. And I thought that with all the stress going on in my life, that would calm me down. And I found that it did not. And that was my 40s. And now being in my 50s, what I've realized is I can still, I want to go in my mind, and I want to be goal setting and pushing. But for me, I've got to just take a breath. And I mean, like figuratively, it's not easy for me, but I've learned to sort of slow down, both physically, emotionally, mentally, just a smidge. And that's really helped me with everything in my life across all facets, motherhood especially.
And yeah, it's so interesting as we evolve how the mind just, naturally evolves too. And I think we experience things time and again in our 20s and in our 30s and in our 40s. And then it's like, it's almost like it becomes normal, right? So I'm sure over the years that you've had pushback about different things that, just specifically talking about Betty Designs, and this idea of owning your mindset, like it doesn't negate like, oh, should I have done that? Or, oh my God, like what if I had really said this, and just kind of the chatter in the mind. How has your relationship changed with that chatter that comes along with owning your mindset? Like owning your mindset isn't this perfect little buckled up, nice little package. It's owning everything that goes along from the actions that you take and the thoughts that you think and the words that you use in life.
I mean, I am the queen of what I call movie loops, where my mind just gets going on a tangent. And usually that was caused in the past, and even now, even though I'm slowing down, of going too fast and trying to get somewhere so goal-oriented that I was sort of missing kind of all the scenery that was going by me. And so for now, what I've really thought about, especially when it comes to business, I think, it was a huge risk for me to start this. My mindset was I wanted to be different, and that has not changed, and I have not wavered. At moments during this 14-year journey with my business and designing, I kind of have gotten caught up in my competitors. There's a lot more competitors in this space. It's freaked me out. I feel insecure. Am I really designing good things? Looking at what everyone else is doing. And I have to tell myself to stop. I have to stop thinking about it. I have to stop looking at it. It's not going to serve me. And that's hard to do. It doesn't mean I don't look and I don't have those thoughts, but I'm learning how to have more discipline to step away or to say, okay, you're being silly. Go back to doing what you know is best. Get up in your little hole, get out all of the things that inspire you and sit there. And what is it that you want to create and why? So that's how I've done it.
I love that. That's like a technique I teach all the time. It's like you have to interrupt the process. And first you need to be aware of what's going on. And it's so easy to continue down that road because it's well worn. And when we're younger, before, we have the life experience, we just kind of buy into those thoughts. And so they're well worn patterns, but you have to interrupt it. And then you have to use your willpower to step away from it. I use this example a lot. If you're driving down the highway, I got this from a friend of mine, and you get off the highway and you're in this like really bad neighborhood. What do? Do you get out of the car, start walking around? No, it's really simple. You get back in the car. You don't even get out of the car. You get back on the highway and you go where you want to go. And same thing with training our minds. And so you and I have never worked together like one-on-one, but we've been in each other's lives now for a few years. And you bought the book, Awake Athlete. I know you've listened to some of the earlier podcasts. And then we're just in connection through Instagram mostly. I'm watching and reading your stuff, and you're watching and reading my stuff, and we're reacting to it. And I'm curious to know what you've taken away from our interactions, and like, what have you crafted to be unique in your own life from just the mindfulness that we've exchanged?
I think, well, first of all, I have to just say you're an incredible role model, because for me, anyone over my years where I've thought of like a yoga teacher or a mindful sort of a teacher, I felt I couldn't relate to them. But you're an athlete. You have the athlete mindset. You still have that competitiveness. And I always thought one didn't go with the other. So you taught me just by example that you can be both of those things. I think I always thought someone like you was absolute perfection, and not saying that you're not, but that you never had a bad thought, or you never felt bad about yourself, or you weren't competitive. Sometimes, those things do creep in. And I think that's been the biggest lessons I've learned from you. And I went, wow, this really resonates with me. And while I am not great at sitting in a corner with my legs crossed, I do spend time now quiet and looking out at the mountains. So I do things maybe a little bit differently than you do it, but you've definitely led by example. And I'm trying to just sort of stop time, especially when my mind gets going on that like overdrive and my insecurities play into it, whether it be, business, athletics, or motherhood. And I just have to say, it's okay to have those feelings and just kind of pause, reset, and go forward in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter what comes up. It's how are you going to move forward from that moment? And if you can just like remember that one thing, because whatever comes up, that's all like a result of the past. But we have 100% control over how we're going to move forward. So thank you. Thank you for those words. Thank you. I never heard you speak that before. And it's really funny because some of the biggest, for the lack of a better word, compliments that I get about what I do and what I put into the world is people will reach out to me and they'll say, I was so happy to hear about how angry you were that you slammed your laptop and smashed the screen. I have. Ask my husband. He fell in love with that girl. And so, yeah, it's, yes, I'm a lot better, but I'm working the tools every day. And I do have a lot more peace in my life and calm and self-control, not repressive, but like self-control to guide myself to what I want. But yeah, I mean, I still have thoughts of like, I'm not enough, or maybe I shouldn't be. This is something that I would like to see if this has ever come up with you, like, because we are different. Yogi triathlete's different. Awake athlete's different. I'm pretty confident when I say that the world of endurance sports has never seen an entity like a wake athlete and yogi triathlete and what we bring to the space. And a lot of times that's been extremely scary. Like you have those thoughts of, well, maybe it's not there for a reason. What am I doing? And so for you with this commitment to be different, have you ever felt that part of you that just is like needs to be safe and says, well, maybe we should just conform?
I do. I do when it comes to business, because I definitely see what's going on in the trends in the cycling and triathlon apparel space. And I'm like, in general, this is just general things. I've seen a lot of plain colors, and that's just not me. And I'm like, I keep going, oh, I should just come out with like some solid colors. And I'm like, Kristin, first of all, that's not designing anything. Second of all, that's not true to your core of why you built this apparel brand. And so, it's like I say, should I not be being different? But yet I have to be different at the same time. It's this weird, like conflicting thoughts, really.
Yeah, because conforming feels like I feel nauseous when I think about conforming to what's already out there. And not that any of that doesn't have value. Of course it has value. But
Definitely,
when you're bringing something new to the space, it also comes with a feeling of like, you can't do anything else. Like, this is it. You got to keep pushing those boundaries. What are some of your favorite like practices or techniques or in the moment ways to pivot as life rolls in for you each day?
So one of the things I've been working on is if during the day, because as what's going on in the world, you can hear a lot of negativity, whether you're listening to the news or reading something or whatever. And even sometimes interactions in my relationship, if there's something for me that pops up that just seems to be negative, I'm trying to not react to it and get frustrated by it, whether I'm reading it and then I go and I vent to my husband and I go, oh my gosh, this was so negative, I don't believe this, because then I'm keyed up over it. I'm trying to just take all of those moments, which I think unfortunately we see a lot more of with social media, that might be negative, and I want to go and vent about it. It's just a waste of my energy. And I'm trying to say, you know what, I'm not going to give that one some fuel. If it's really something that hits me to my core, I'm going to talk about it, or, I'll bring it to my husband and say, hey, I saw this. What do you think? But in general, I'm finding that I can't react to the negativity, whether it's thrown directly at me on a personal level, an email, a DM, or something that has nothing to do with me, like in the news that I'm reading that frustrates me.
Yeah, because what we focus on expands. And it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Each and I will split up on Saturday for our long rides, and we'll come back. And that we have interactions with some unconscious behavior out there over, the hours that we're riding, and we don't talk about it. Like, there's a lot of times where I'm like, I want to talk about that lady who screamed at me. And I'm like, why? Right. And it's this part that's like, well, she's wrong and I'm right. And it's not even relevant because it happened hours ago. And I love that lesson. That is I really hope people absorbed that. It's such a sick satisfaction that is really common to expand negativity, or, oh my God, wait till I tell you what I saw on my bike ride or my run today. And really we're condemning the people, we're poisoning ourselves. Like, we know this, right? Like, it's not good for ourselves. Yeah. It's not good for ourselves. Like, right. I want to keep living well. So I love that. I think that's an incredible lesson for people. And then I've got one final question for you about just the creative process and how that's evolved for you. As the way I would phrase it is like, as your mind opens, your mind is opening for sure, from where you were 14 years ago to the women that I'm talking with now. Like, I can feel that about you. There's been a softening and an opening, but you haven't lost any of like the good stuff along the way. So how has this growth and evolution affected your creative process?
So the thing that's fascinating, and it may not be the answer you think, my creative process has not changed when it comes to that. So I have changed. But the way I approach every collection I ever do, it's the same things that I love to like hunker down in my workspace, open up, certain trend services or piles of books and magazines I have on my bookshelves, and just create the space. I still do it the same way, believe it or not. That has not changed at all for me, which is crazy now that you're asking me this question. I mean, way before Betty, even when I was working on creative projects. So I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad. It just is.
No, I love that. Like the routine. I mean, I have a very similar routine when I write. I like to write really early in the morning where the only light is from the laptop to the point where it blinds you, and it's just quiet and the birds haven't started to sing. But what has moved through me over the years is much different. Have you seen an evolution in what you're putting out into the world? Like the creative process is kind of the same, but you're changing. So of course you're going to see differences. So let me get more specific with it. What have you seen come through your designs that represent this evolution?
Well, first of all, I look back 14 years ago to a couple of the kits I had, and they're just awful. I mean, like, how did I design that? That's not good design. So from a design standpoint, I do believe I've evolved as a designer. I think that, fine, and it's changed over the years. It depends what I'm going through, and it depends on the phase I'm in terms of what I want to create. Early on, I did a lot more of what I would call really aggressive designs that were really, they're always bold, but there was like personal tidbits woven in and super edgy, like literally edgy. And now I feel like when I say edgy, it's just putting things together that may not be expected. And so that can be called edgy, but I don't search out something that's like, I don't know what the word is. It's kind of like, I don't know what the analogy is, but I don't go get this big tattoo on my forehead so everyone can see it, right? Like I would get one, but it would be subtle and somewhere else or whatever. I don't know if that's a great analogy. It's just a softening and a more refined way, I think, of approaching my designs. That's what I'd like to think anyway.
Yeah, I see that as well. And when I look at what you're describing in other athletes that I work with, my own life and how I've grown, it's almost like we're coming into ourselves more, and we can come into ourselves more because the edges aren't so sharp. Mm-hmm. Like we're not trying to prove a point or be like a big exclamation point in the world, that you can be that exclamation point from a different entryway. And that's what I see in your designs. It's beautiful. I love it. Anything else you want to drop in here about mindset before we sign off? Anyone who's listening, because a lot of people are going to know who you are. Any tidbits that you want to offer? I know you don't have like a crazy in the Himalayan cave meditation practice, but you're still making beautiful shifts and openings in your life. So anything you want to impart?
I mean, the one thing that's also changed for me in the last decade is the evolution of myself as an athlete. And I think that's a really important one for a lot of my customers and a lot of the people that I know. It's hard. I mean, we're all very goal oriented, and I did that for 20 years, and I'm still goal oriented. That has not shifted. But instead of it being, 12 triathlons a year, where it is the schedule to train for that and be competitive is, I don't know how I did it mentally and physically, to coming up with goals and different ways. And the end result is not the focus anymore. I don't need the validation from that end result, where that used to be really the driver for me. I needed that external positive feedback from, getting on the podium. And obviously at my age, I'm not going to be on the podium and be super competitive, but also that's not my main identity, I guess, anymore, even though it's still a part of me. So there's just a different approach to the training. I'm more seeing the value in the process in this, and it sounds cheesy, but in the individual workouts, whereas I used to look at the 3-week plan and be like, oh yeah, I got to do this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But now it's like literally a day by day, and I don't judge it. I used to judge every workout. So I think that's a really big one, and that's a big evolution. And I like that. And I think it's better for my body and mind as I age because I can't keep up the pace I did, 20 years ago. It's just not possible.
Yeah, and that's what you just described is the manifestation of this slowing down where you're like, oh, well, today and this training matters. Whereas we're go, 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 go. And I can really relate to that. It's like, of course you're looking at where you're going to be in 3 weeks because you're not in the moment that you're living. It's always the next thing, always the next thing, always striving. Yeah. So that's really, I think what you just described is when you begin to just pay attention a little bit more to your thoughts, to the moment, that there is a slowing down that happens, but it's a slowing down that makes you more efficient, that allows for more joy and allows for more appreciation of what you're doing in that moment, as opposed to this constant futuristic, thinking that holds us out of the only moment that we can live.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just embracing slowing down is not a negative thing. I used to think it was negative, but I haven't really slowed down per se. It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different. It's more refined. I love that. And, if you look at the word grace, which really was way back when Yogi Triathlete first started, and it was my blog. My slogan was going for grace because there was I needed to round out those sharp edges. Yep. And when you look at what that word means, it's the refinement of movement. And I think that, a little bit of paying attention brings a lot of grace in life. And you can still be competitive and have goals but not missing the process anymore is a really valuable experience. Well, thank you so much, Kristin.
Well,
I really appreciate you coming on. It was so good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for helping me with this interview series for season 5 of the Awake Athlete podcast. It's going to be binge worthy.
Yay. Well, thanks for having me. I'll keep watching, listening, and reading.
Thank you. And keep just living that demonstration in the world.
All righty. Take care, Jess.
Are the messages in this podcast resonating with you? Is there a spark that has been flamed and a part of you that is craving more? Get over to yogitriathlete.com and discover how we are forging a new breed of athlete through one-on-one coaching, our squad community, and once-in-a-lifetime adventures to some of the most extraordinary places on earth. Being a member of Yogi Triathlete means you will be awake and ready for all that comes your way. So head over there now, because life waits for no one. So what are you waiting for?